Well, I am in this area because this is the state where I have a driver's license that I need to renew, which involves me getting help from someone else who has a valid driver's license. But because I'm in a human trafficking situation, there are a lot of people around me who are doing whatever it takes to make sure that I don't end up getting an ID or ordering my birth certificate or any of the other things that I need to do in order to be a real person like everyone else in this beautiful nation. So in a little bit, I'm going to be going to where I have a tent up on the mountain, and I'm going to be moving all the water out of it because I actually set it up last time that I was there to get rained in and potentially snowed in. And so now I have to get any water that's in there out. I also set it up to drain on its own. So we'll see how that works. And then I need to be moving the tent. I would like to move it somewhere I could have a fire. That would be the smartest way to go about things. There are other homeless people here who live in the woods. Some of them walk as far as 40 minutes through the woods to their little campsite areas where they do have fires and things, tents set up and all that. You know, and they and others have spent plenty of winters there. I knew a gal named Beth Ann Martini. She was one of my neighbors, and I used to go to her house all the time while she was still alive. And Beth Ann Martini actually spent her winters at times out Beans Mill, which would also be an ideal spot to have a fire and a tent set up through the winter. However, it is far away from town, and in order for me to get back and forth, I would have to walk potentially in the winter snow and everything and all of that back and forth to town as I needed, or I would just have to stay out there. And there most certainly wouldn't be as much YouTube watching or uploading at all. However, out in that situation, irregardless of my service, I'm not sure how my service would be out there or out in any of the other places outside of town where I could have fires and tents set up and stuff. But I would pretty much have to still rely on, unless I completely stayed to myself, there would still be traffickers sent to me, and it would be like one person after another, like here, if I'm reliant on like a phone and needing if I'm reliant on needing phone service and having to have a phone and stuff while I'm out there, which I've thought about just doing this like whole quarantine thing where I just like put everything down and just like go out there and just not really say anything or have contact with anyone or watch any videos or use my phone or upload anything. And there's no telling how long it would be before I actually showed back up, came back online, and I'd probably be a great deal thinner, or a little bit thinner than I am now. But basically, in this whole like human trafficking situation, it's a bunch of people who set it up to where thanks, retard. Yeah, in the wintertime especially, oh my god, that stinks. Just such retards, man. Yeah, anyway, so in the wintertime especially, they really take advantage of the trafficking victims by like setting it up to where there's only like, you know, one place for us all to go, or like 3 places in a town this big for us all to go, and all of those dudes are abusive in one way or another. It's just like all the dudes have places and now the chicks don't. So like Valley Green, it used to be an apartment complex that was for single mothers. That's basically why they built it. It was for the handicapped, for the elderly, and for single mothers. And now it's like an apartment complex that where a bunch of dudes have apartments, and they basically only let the chicks come around if the chicks act a certain type of way. But if you're somebody who doesn't want to get it on with everyone, and if you're someone who doesn't want to catch AIDS and hepatitis from everyone, then you're like this fucking Lone Ranger who ends up like practically being stuck outside on your own and shit. And because I don't want to deal with people setting me up to catch their fucking diseases from their uncleanliness, and because I don't want to have to witness this woman getting, you know, beat up by her boyfriend, and I don't want to have to deal with listening to people fight or trash shit or, you know, be abused or be abusive, or I don't want to fucking be in those situations. That means that I'm pretty much gonna have to fucking live in a tent. And that was one of the reasons that I really liked Quartzsite, Arizona, was because it's warm-ish during the winter, and anyone is able to just go there in a camper or an RV or throw a tent up, and you can't always tell the difference between like who was homeless to begin with and who wasn't. Just the same as you can't always tell the difference between who's a trafficker and who's not right off the bat. In Quartzsite, everyone just kind of blended in together because there are no houses. And there were a lot of people that would show up like completely homeless, destitute, and they would keep going back every year. And especially if you show up in January, which is when they have the big gem show and like 1 million people show up, sometimes you can find work, sometimes you can find help, sometimes people are just giving away their vehicles during and around that month as they level up and purchase new vehicles while they're there. But I decided that I didn't want to leave this area again until I have my driver's license figured out. And realistically, I would like to get my driver's license and get a job for a second, get a car, and then be able to move about with a car again. But because I told people that before I even got here, I told my kids that, which meant that everybody else knew that, and that that everyone could then pretend that they wanted to help me get my driver's license, but not really help me, like doing things like trying to use an expired ID to talk to a notary public, which obviously somebody who was in the armed forces and has supposedly such a high intelligence level, you know, they would know that they can't show a fucking notary public a fucking expired ID. So anyways, this is the dumb shit that I've had to deal with trying to get my fucking driver's license again as a fucking, basically a homeless fucking trafficking victim. Like, basically to get my birth certificate, since my birth certificate was stolen and I'm from Texas, I have to find somebody with a valid driver's license who's willing to take a picture of both front and back of their fucking license, send the photos to a notary public, see her in a video call online. We have to pay about $50 for that birth certificate to be sent to us. And it's going to be sent to the person who is using the card, you know what I mean, who that address of the person who's using the card. So it's going to be sent to them. It's going to be sent to their address for me. And then in order for me to get a driver's license, because I'm homeless, I have to find someone who's willing to let me use their address. And then they have to use their water bill and take me in and basically accompany me as though I'm a teenager all over again and getting my updated driver's license. So I've been here for months and I haven't gotten any closer to getting any of that done at all. I've only had people pretend that they were trying to help me with that on the phone while they lied to a notary. So yeah, I basically feel like I can't be around anyone. All of these different people are all assigned to do dumb shit and to be a certain type of way around me or whatever, and I can't fucking stand it. I don't want to fucking be around any of them. I'm willing to like maybe hang out with people a little bit, small doses at a time, but not even really that. Like I super don't give a fuck. You know, and I would occasionally, you know, kind of maybe need to meet people or go places or be attached to society in order to accomplish certain things, like, you know, in order to make money to keep my phone on and things like that. But, you know, if I don't use a fucking phone, then I don't ever have to fucking worry about that. And honestly, people have made things so fucking terrible around me that I may have to like forfeit having a phone in exchange for peace and shit like that, which is fucked up. But what I'm gonna try to fucking do is camp out relatively close to town where I might not be able to have a fire, which sucks fucking balls. And I guess I'm gonna continue to look for somewhere where I can have a fucking fire. And I'm gonna keep relatively close to electrical outlets and shit like that, and sort of close to society. But honestly, if it gets any worse, if this shit gets any worse, I'm just gonna stop showing up here. I'm gonna stop showing up online. They already told me that they're going to terminate my rights in the middle of December, even though I did everything basically that I fucking could have as a homeless trafficked person. And this is the second time that they put me through this shit. Like the first time I got my kid back in 2.5 years, which was way too long to have to wait. They did that shit all super deliberately just to be cruel and shit. And this time they only let me see him twice the whole time that they've had him for 2.5 years. And then they basically stopped letting me talk to him, which it's been almost 2 years since they really kind of let me talk to him. It's been well over a fucking year, over a year and a half since they, you know what I mean? And they let me talk to him like maybe 5 times, but she would always cut the conversation short and like hurry him off of the phone. Like it was like he had to get off the phone right away and shit, which was really fucking annoying. And the bitch did that the entire fucking time he lived with her. Like every fucking phone call that I ever had with him, the bitch would fucking have to hurry him the fuck off the phone early. It was fucking bullshit. And then she was recording all of our conversations and shit. She was recording the whole video call and everything because she hoped that I would say or do something wrong. Well, I ended up not ever doing anything wrong enough for her to use any of those recordings. So what they did was they just paid this therapist or whatever to say that I had an inappropriate conversation with him over the phone. And then they had the therapist say that I was never allowed to talk to my son ever again. And that's what happened. And literally the last phone call that I had with my kid, it was him and like the other kids in the house. And they were like playing a game and stuff. And I was just telling him like that because I hadn't been able to see him in so long. I basically realized with that one phone call that she was blocking my video because they'd been blocking my video the whole time. Like they would let me talk to him for a few minutes and then hurry me off the phone and stuff, but they wouldn't ever let me see him on video. And they acted like it was a problem with me. They kept acting like it was a problem with my phone. Well, I switched these phones out a few times because I thought that it was a problem with my phone. And the only reason why I had my phone was so that I could show up for these CPS bitches and fucking talk to my kid. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't have to talk about you respectfully because you guys are fucking child traffickers. So, but that last phone call was with my phone that I had just bought, and it showed me on that phone when I tried to video call my son that the videos were being blocked from the foster parent's side. So the foster parent had just simply scrolled down and turned the video off before my phone calls. She was allowing all the other kids in the house to have video calls with their kids, and you know what I mean, on time and everything. But they stopped my phone calls with my kid 2 Junes ago. It's been 2 Junes since they did that. Even though in the recording, the social worker says that she only just now found out about Rocker and LaDonna last October or whatever, which she's telling you that in September, right before October. So she's trying to allege that she's only known about me for a year, but it was actually the summer before that that she told me I wasn't allowed to talk to my kid anymore in June. So she's fucking lying through her teeth in that recording that I made. And that's all these bitches do the entire time is lie through their fucking teeth. And they just keep lying through their teeth and, you know what I mean, move my kid, traffic my kid around, send my kid to traffickers. But anyways, they're saying that they're about to terminate my rights on December 16th or whatever, which is truly fucked up shit. So legit, like, the only reason why I have this phone is so that I can be here for my son. And the only reason why I've had the phone at all is so that I can be here to answer the phone for my son or to be at these court hearings and shit. And they knew that that was the only reason why I had the phone, and they want me to have the phone because they have my devices like mirrored and hacked and shit, and they're constantly trying to use my phone to traffic me. And to like try to set me up and all, you know what I mean? See if they can set me up in different ways, or, you know, as long as I have a phone, there's a way to collect evidence, you know what I mean? Evidence against me or whatever. So this entire time, they've only let me have these phones and accounts and stuff because they're hoping that I'm going to get myself in trouble with them. And I only have the fucking phone so that I can potentially be a mother to my son, because CPS says that if I don't have a phone and if they can't get a hold of me, that I'm not a real mom and that they're going to take my kid away. So at the end of this, that's exactly what they did, even though I still managed to keep a phone, except for the couple times that they had me like super kidnapped and held hostage, which was the whole fucking reason they did that, so that they could fucking say that they couldn't get a hold of me at the time. And when I mean held hostage, I really mean held hostage. Like, those were really fucking bad situations that I had to fucking figure my way out of. And they would not have let me figure my way out of the situation while my kid was, you know, visiting my sister in Texas and weird shit like that. Like, they made sure that I was fucking held in places while they did that shit. They were literally so worried about me showing up at the house, which I haven't been there in over 13 fucking years. I haven't seen these people who have my kid now in over 13 fucking years, except for the one time that my parents showed up to like see me right before they thought I was going to get killed, right before everybody set me up to get killed, which was yesterday whenever I was talking about that thing isn't paused. Right? So now they've known that if they just tell me that it's drop off, like I don't have my kid anymore, they know that I will not have the phone, and that I'll just stop using the phone. So they've tried to drag it on and on, acting like they still need me to be a part of this, or like that there's still some chance that I could get my kid back or something like that, or that because they decided that I was disabled behind my back, that they couldn't quite just like rip the kid out from under me as fast as they wanted to, or whatever. But so now I'm looking at the fact that pretty soon, I mean, if they decide that I don't need rights over my child who they sent to my sex trafficking family, then I'm not going to need a phone anymore unless I want to continue this YouTube stuff. Which, I mean, it is important for me to get the word out about everything. but also it might be a good idea for me to focus on myself for a while. I have no idea, but I know that it really does suck to, for me to have done all of this to try to stay connected and to want to be connected and to want to be a part of things and to want to make videos and to want to be a part of the world, while so many people don't want me to be a part of the world and they want me to be isolated and they don't want me to be connected and they don't want me to be showing up. And it's just there's just so many things to think about and consider. And then, also, I'm in a place where I can't go to the hospital here. I can't talk to the police here. Not that I don't think that I can. And they're doing this medical martial law shit on me where apparently I've had cancer ever since I was a teenager and no one would admit that to me because they just wanted me to die, I guess. So that ends up being like super fucking shitty. But yeah, anyways, I only have like basically a couple hours of daylight to work with every day out here during the winter time. It starts to get really cold at about 3:30 in the afternoon. So whatever I'm going to do, I need to do it. I know that it's at least going to be sort of warm for a few days and then it's going to drop down to 20-degree nights. So I guess I'm just going to set myself up somehow. I'm really not liking going from place to place to place with a bunch of bedding and stuff and, MREs and backpacks and stuff. And I don't know, and like a lot of the places that I would be going to from now on, if it was like people that I met online and stuff, it was just going to be strangers. I don't really like having to show up with a bunch of stuff. It's kind of fucking weird. So I guess I'm just going to set my little place up in the fucking mountain and just roll with it and, go from there. I imagine I will still potentially find places to stay the night and stuff like that, but I just can't be rolling around with like all of the stuff all the time. And, And the thing is that if you have things in a tent, you just keep the things that are really most important on you. And then if your tent gets sacked, then it gets sacked. But you just make sure that you have your important stuff on you and because it is kind of important to not be walking around with a bunch of stuff and moving around from place to place with all this stuff. Which is kind of what they've had me do here, and that's all that they're going to do is just have me move around from place to place, being fucking shitheads and abusers and retards and traffickers and fucking, driving me out because I'm not sleeping with them within the first 3 hours of knowing them or whatever, and that's all these fucking traffickers do. And that's a network that's taken over the entire U.S. You probably have family members and friends who are traffickers right underneath your nose. That's a lot of the reason why a lot of the time when I would go to all of these houses and with all these people throughout the U.S., they would try to like keep me hidden, or their parents or their family members would start like asking me questions and stuff like that, asking me questions about myself, and whoever I was with would be like, the person who'd introduce me to everybody, not that I was with them. It's just different people that I would meet throughout the U.S. at part of this fucking trafficking ring. And at their house, like there might be like a husband or a wife or a mom or dad or whoever to kind of be like asking questions or even just cordially asking questions like about who I was personally or anything like that, and they would always cut me off, and they would always a lot of these trafficker people, you'll watch them snap at whoever is asking those questions and just be like, God, you don't need to ask 21 questions, and why do you have to ask all those questions, and maybe she doesn't want to answer all those questions right now and all this shit. And realistically, it's been so long since anybody asked me any questions about myself. I wish, like, and obviously, like, as a victim who needed rescued, I wanted people to know about me and to be asking questions about me. I needed people to take interest, and these trafficker people would just shut them down. So I mean, that's a pretty big sign of human trafficking as far as what I could see across the fucking whole U.S. is like when you go to ask, you know, if there's a new company in your house and you go to asking about them or to try to talk to them, and whoever brought them over shuts you down and tells you that it's none of your business, or tells you that that person doesn't want to answer you, or that you're being too overbearing, or you're asking too many questions and things like that, when they shut you down for asking questions, that is abuse, first of all, that you guys shouldn't be fucking tolerating. Yeah, it is your business if someone brings anyone into your house or around you. That is totally your fucking business. Don't let these people punk you out. Yeah, you should be able to fucking ask whatever fucking questions you want about anybody who's brought into your fucking midst. That puts you and your kids and your whole family potentially in jeopardy. And it might not be the person who's walking in the house that is going to put you in jeopardy. It might be the person who brought that person who brings those people into the house. They could be a trafficker. If you see somebody always bringing people over, and it might be chicks who act like they're down with it and act like they're okay with it, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good situation for real. And if somebody's telling you to shut up and to stop asking questions about company that comes into the house, that's a huge red flag that there could be human trafficking or prostitution or a number of different criminal type behavior, weird things going on. And I will also say that the women especially are way too quick to get other women out of the house. Like, these women will also be victims who might be trafficked right in place, or surveilled or kept because of whatever their income is, or just for different reasons. And they will look at almost any woman who enters their midst as being some kind of competition, because we as women were taught that we have to be the most beautiful woman in order to we have to be more beautiful than all these other women in order to be worth a fuck to anybody and shit. So all these women are, they're all conditioned to think that they have to be in competition with each other, and they're not really catching on as quickly as they should to the fact that some of these dudes are trafficking and controlling and keeping some of us, and even abusing our kids, and super not giving a fuck about us, and that this is like a weird, just traditional weird fucking thing, a part of the system that chicks just they're not catching on to quickly enough, or they're too afraid to say anything, you know what I mean? And in a lot of these situations where the guys would be like, oh, just be quiet and don't ask any more questions and stuff, even if the person who they were talking to was older than them, like much older than them, was like their grandmother, you know what I mean? Their grandfather asking questions, a grandkid would be able to snap and yell at their own grandmother or parent and tell them to shut up and to stop asking their guest questions. And the parents and grandparents would just shut up. Or the husband or wife would just shut up, and they would just let whatever was happening just happen. And that was really odd to me. Like, of course, what's done isn't necessarily done out in front of anybody, if anything is done. And sometimes all that's actually being done is that person is being kept and moved from place to place to place and kept an eye on, and that people are basically hiding that person right out in the open. There was a lot of times at different places that I would go where people would shit their pants telling me not to go outside, that I couldn't be seen outside of wherever I was. That's also like a really obvious thing, is if people aren't allowed to see you, that you're there, if people have to hide that you're around, if people act like they're hiding you from their family members or their girlfriends or boyfriends, sometimes you can be trafficked and you not know, you know what I mean, that you're being trafficked, and all these people have to act a certain type of way around you, you know what I mean, not letting you go outside, things like that, not being able to let certain people see you, or acting like they're hiding you from someone. Like, it gets fucking weird. but that's where I'm going to stop this video for now.